Now, when I started this was a 7-inch cigar, but I've been smoking for about an hour. I've been working, so it's been a little bit on and off. So you can't necessarily tell that it's, well, a 7-inch cigar, or that you'd have only that much gone in an hour. But, you know, you smoke slow and you have fun, and that's what matters. Flor, Dominicana, double Ligero, the Oscuro. So you're talking about nice, rich, oily wrapper, and Flor, Dominicana makes absolutely huge, big, powerful cigars. If you're just starting in cigar smoking, you are not smoking that right there. You're just not doing it. Welcome to the show, everybody. Presented by Americans for Prosperity, AmericansForProsperity.org. It's good to be with you. It's good to have you here. I did a hit on Fox today, and I'll have that up. I think it's over at Locals, TonyKatz.locals.com. There you go. You can see it right there. It must have been a good hit, because Fox has been putting it out, and, you know, they quoted me, and it's always a pleasure. You know, sometimes you get to hit it right. You know, I've had great hits. I've had some misses, more hits than misses. And I think that's how you get into the Hall of Fame. But the conversation is about fentanyl. How in the world do you solve the problem of fentanyl? So I figured we'd start with, well, what the hell it is, right? This synthetic opioid that was developed for pain management, specifically cancer patients. This is directly from the FDA, and it's massively powerful. You're talking about 100 times more powerful. What is it, the morphine? Right? A very, very tiny amount can kill. And what we're seeing is that it is indeed killing. It's killing absolutely, positively everywhere. And we have to put an end to fentanyl coming across to the United States. That includes a getting very, very tough with China. It includes engaging a stronger border, which we know we don't have. We are fully aware that we don't have a strong border, and we have an administration that doesn't believe in a strong border. I had this debate today with a Democrat's surrogate. He was actually on with Dan Bongino the night before. I didn't even get to see that. The clear reality is that too many on the political left believe in some level of open borders. Now, we can go a step further and discuss the fact that Congress has not solved any of our border issues whatsoever. It seems that many of them like the problem. No one's willing to get strong. No one's willing to get tough. No one's willing to lose election or re-election over it, but it has to happen. We have an issue. Illegal immigration is an issue. This drug flowing into the United States is an issue. To say otherwise is just a radical and dangerous lie, and it is extremely, extremely dangerous. So how does one do something about this? How does one solve this problem? First, let's be clear that we have a problem. And I make an argument. Now, this argument got started, don't get me wrong, I've always had this argument, but I happen to have caught this, Congressman Ronnie Jackson, who used to be the doctor for Donald Trump, saying this.
He brought 20 leaders together to collaboratively manage the immigration challenge impacting the whole Western Hemisphere, and we're stopping fentanyl before it even makes it to the streets of the United States. So we have a plan.
Congressman, stopping fentanyl before it comes into the country or onto our streets, that's a bold-faced, flat-out lie.
Tell that to the 100,000 families that lost a loved one this year because of the fentanyl crisis. That is absolute garbage. It's a complete lie. Biden has done nothing but bury his head in the sand over this, and it's an absolute disgrace. We have to have a commander-in-chief, a head of state that's going to do something about this, Sean. And I'll tell you, he has created such a disaster that we're going to have to take it to the next level pretty soon. I think that we need somebody that's going to, in the White House, that's going to work across borders with the Mexican government, with the Chinese government, to stop the fentanyl from coming in, and to go after these cartels on Mexican soil if we need to, go after their labs, their routes, go after their vehicles, go after all of the logistical support that they have in place in Mexico to stop this. Something drastic has to be done. It's destroying an entire generation of youth.
That's absolutely correct. It's an excellent, excellent cigar. Again, a lot of big coming out of this cigar. This was actually a Churchill, so a 7 by 48. 48 being the ring gauge, how thick it is, around 7 inches long. I haven't been able to find it when looking at online, because you order it online, in that size. You can find it in a Lancero, which is a 38 ring gauge, much smaller. It's a more dainty cigar, but since so much flavor comes from the wrapper, and since you have a better wrapper to binder and filler ratio You get more flavor if you can find it. If you're a cigar smoker, this is a nice one to have in the collection for sure. China and the southern border. That is absolutely correct. That's accurate. We have to do something regarding China and the southern border when it comes to fentanyl. Comes to this killer. I argue it starts with a zero tolerance policy on the border. We don't allow illegal immigration. And yet I get people who push back on that from the political left all the time. What about this and what about that? If you want to talk to me about asylum, for example, you can. That's not a conversation of illegal immigration. We cannot allow, cannot state that we accept illegal immigration. We need to have an extremely strong border. We need to have it in a level of lockdown and have people coming into the country because we want immigrants. We should be a nation that welcomes immigrants. It's important. It's valuable. It's part of our fabric. I believe in this wholeheartedly, but I don't believe in illegal immigration. I don't believe in an open, porous border. I don't believe in the danger that's been happening on the border that gets reported on, except for the Biden administration not paying any attention. You know, there's a whole conversation about whether they're going to get rid of Title 42. Title 42 is really a health policy. And Title 42 is the idea that because you have an existing condition, if you will, for example, COVID, you can send people back. Title 42 allows this. Well, they want to get rid of Title 42. Title 42 is not a way to solve the border issue. But since the Biden administration has taken away so many things that could help at the border, you want Title 42 to remain in place. And now that it's not going to remain in place, or it's very likely that it will no longer remain in place, things get much worse. You had over 2.3 million people coming into the United States last year. In the first couple months, you have thousands and thousands of what they call gotaways, which means people who crossed the border, they weren't able to be captured. They're in the country. What, they're all good people? Just based on a bell curve. They're not all good people. That would be absolutely impossible to believe. Ridiculous to believe. I believe you have to start somewhere, and you start with a zero tolerance policy. And I said so.
Senate, Republicans in the House, sometimes that's gridlock. Sometimes it's an opportunity to lock arms and get something done. Maybe not full-blown comprehensive immigration, but maybe some of the lower-hanging fruit.
You're not going to see me mind it. You're going to see me absolutely in favor of it. Of course, it's a bipartisan issue. It's an issue that is seriously affecting Texas, seriously affecting border states, but of course affects my beloved Indiana and a lot of states, all the states across the country. They're not coming into Texas. They're coming into the United States. We must be focused on this. We have to end fentanyl coming into the United States, killing kids, killing adults, killing everybody. But it has to start with a baseline. You got to start somewhere and stop throwing excuses or exceptions at me. If we can't start with we don't allow illegal immigration, we can't get anything done. And until that's the baseline, we're going to stick in this gridlock.
How is that in any way debatable? By the way, I look puffy. I think it was Thanksgiving. There was a tremendous amount of eating. There was a 17-pound brisket. There was turkey breast. It was. I'm very, very proud. I learned a couple things about my brisket. Something didn't come out right. I'll discuss that in the future. I still feel very confident about my brisket making. I'm getting there, but something happened, and I have an idea, but we'll save that for another day. All I'm trying to do is solve a problem. That's all I want to do. All I want to do is smoke a cigar and solve a problem and have people leading free lives and safe lives. This is what I want for them. Safe, not in that government is locking them down, not that safe is government dictating what they could do, not that safe in the idea that the government somehow has this overarching hand on the American populace. Safe in the idea that we're secure in our borders, because we should be secure in our borders. The idea that this is a bipartisan issue is, if we want to talk about the absolute insanity of where we're at in the U.S., it's that this is a bipartisan issue, but it is. Because ideologically, the political left has way too many members who don't believe in a border at all. I remember when Trump was president. Well, first, I remember when Trump was president and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was crying at the border. Oh, those were good times. She used to care about children. I don't know what's happened. I don't know. Oh, Biden got, Biden's president, and all of a sudden, she's not there. She's not crying. She's not worried about cages. Nothing. Wow, she must have just turned off her TV. Or turned off her radio and been like, oh, everything's fine. Everything's good. No issue. Massive issue. But she was somebody who opposed the idea of funding for beds at the border. You got these people coming in. You want a place for them to sleep. You get beds. She opposed it. And my looking at this said, well, it makes sense that someone like her, so people like the squad, oppose the idea of beds at the border. They oppose the idea that we have a border at all. Why would you need beds for people to be processed at the border? You should just let them through. Remember, she talked about the idea that humans have the right to mobility, which is saying she doesn't believe in a border at all. And there's way too many people ideologically who don't believe in a border. So how do they expect to solve these problems? They think that the border itself is the problem, that somehow everything would be better if we weren't just so mean. The guy I was debating today, his name's Jose, was discussing the idea that we need to make sure we're humane. Allowing fentanyl into the United States is not humane. No. Don't tell me that somehow I'm the one acting improper, that the United States is the one acting improper. That is not going to work. We need to stop this problem. And this problem stops by not allowing the stuff to the best of our ability into the country, which means an unbelievably secure border where people aren't getting through and the drugs aren't getting through. That's what it means. It can't mean anything else. We can't get close to it meaning anything else. I am stunned on the daily that this is something that we haven't completed. And don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of fault in Republicans for not getting this handled. What, you're too worried about being reelected? Too worried about being nice? Worried about being name called? They're going to name call you anyway. Can we stop the fentanyl from killing children and killing adults? Can we stop it from killing family members? Can we do what we can to stop it from coming in? And by the way, this also means a very strong position regarding China. But again, that's another video for another day. I didn't know this was tough. I didn't know this one was difficult. I didn't know we couldn't agree on the baseline, which is zero tolerance for illegal immigration at the border. We start there. And if we can't start there, we have got absolutely nothing. By the way, Joe said Americans aren't producing enough offspring anymore, right? Yes, he said we need. Was it Joe who said that, or was somebody else who said that? No, it wasn't. Was it Joe? Was it President Biden? Oh yeah, we're not creating enough kids, and that's why we need immigration. I'm not arguing against immigration, and there are many reasons why we don't have as many children as other nations. But it doesn't mean illegal immigration, and I was so on point clear on this Fox set talking about legal versus illegal immigration and being opposed to illegal immigration, because that's what it's all about. They love to confuse those terms, right? They love to try and catch you in that, oh, you oppose immigration. Liars and fools. Nonsense is what that is. I also got called a liar for saying that the left is okay with what's going on at the border, with the left being in favor of open borders based on their own policies and policy decisions. That's not a lie. That's not a lie. I can bring the receipts. I have brought the receipts. I can back that one up. It is ideological where they're at, and their ideology is poor. The political right has to be much stronger on this and demand more. Get rough and tumble. Get in their face. Lives are at stake, so, well, let's just go about saving the lives. It's something that Americans are down with, so just get it handled. That's all you have to do. Meanwhile, this Flor Dominicana. So great smoke. Now, you can find this for somewhere between $12 and $13 a stick. That's an incredibly good value. Certainly in what's going on in the cigar market, where all prices are going up. You guys know prices are going up on everything. It's incredibly good value. It's an incredibly strong stick. Again, I tell you, do not start with a stick if you're new to cigars. I would stay away from a Flor Dominicana if you're new to cigars. I would. It's just too big, too powerful, too strong. But this, the double Ligero Oscuro from La Flor Dominicana, if you're a cigar smoker, oh, most definitely. Most definitely. Guys, I appreciate you so very much. And my thanks to Americans for Prosperity. Boom. AmericansForProsperity.org for letting me do this show. I know it's weird to do it on a Sunday. I know it is, but it's because of the holiday. It's when I had time, and I want to make sure I got the word out to you. 6 to 9 a.m. and noon to 3, WIBC, WIBC.com. And you hear the show on weekends and everywhere else. And maybe we'll have some good news in 2023. We're working on some things. Got some good stuff cooking. Hopefully it all works out well. If not, I'll tell you how it all felt a crap. But right now, it's a good thing. And by the way, thank you, Annie, Someone else said that. It wasn't Biden. It wasn't Biden who said that about the lack of having children in the United States. I didn't think it was him. I just can't remember who said it. It'll hit me the minute I log off. The minute I put everything away, boom, that's when it'll hit me. Tune in, WIBC, WIBC.com. Don't forget to join me on Locals, TonyKatz.locals.com, and I'll catch you tomorrow, guys. Take care.